So I regularly get messages or tweets sent my way that say something like, I'm a Nazi because I hang out with Nazis or something like that. This one was sent just a few days ago. It says, hey, don't lose your hair over this dress, Tim, or else you won't be able to be the media for Nazis, fascists, and tinfoil hat types that are the only people you pal around with and cover. And then there's also something essentially similar from It's Going Down, which is like the anarchist Antifa media thing. That face when alt-right troll Tim Pool at Timcast, who presents himself as a neutral journalist but dodges the camera with his Nazi buddies. So this photo gets shared all the time. This picture of me hanging out, well, I shouldn't say hanging out, but the picture of me eating dinner with a bunch of people associated with the right. Essentially, after a Berkeley event, I reached out to some people I had just interviewed Baked Alaska, and they said they were at a bar. And I came down and I was basically discussing things with them, talking with them, because that's what journalists do. A piece about me came out in The New Yorker from this guy, Andrew Marantz, I think his last name is. And he's at a lot of the same events I am. He's a writer for The New Yorker. He recently just interviewed me about issues pertaining to live stream and independent journalism. And I was talking to him the other day. I was like, you're at like a lot of the same events as me. You know, I went and covered the party they had in D.C. We were both at Columbia when Mike Cernovich was speaking. I don't see them posting your photo or complaining that a New Yorker journalist is interviewing these people. And not only that, they're accusing me of dodging the camera, which I'm certainly not doing. I'm just like sitting there oblivious, drinking my water. If I didn't want to be in the photo, I'd have just got up and moved. I'm not an idiot. I can tell when people are all turning and looking at a camera and they say, hey, we're taking a picture. So it's like this false narrative they're trying to create. First of all, calling the alt-right's ridiculous, considering I'm a mixed-race human being. And that's become a meme now where everyone's like, hey, did you know that Tim's mixed? Well, yeah, I know it's funny because you guys hear me say it a lot, but apparently these people don't understand that concept, right? That kind of doesn't mix well. But this is what they do. And I decided to respond with something I find kind of funny. They say that the only people I pal around with are Nazis, when in fact, over the past several years, I've hung out with more refugees than Nazis. Nazi doesn't even make sense because these people aren't Nazis, but certainly interviewing someone who is alt-right or conservative or identitarian or whatever is not me palling around with Nazis. And so I posted this thing. I like this game because it creates a strange paradox where you end up indirectly calling refugees Nazis. Because I have this photo taken by Emily Molly, who I worked with throughout Europe and on the migrant coverage in Sweden. And it's a picture of me teaching migrant children how to fly a drone. And look at these kids, they're all excited, and we're in an abandoned airport parking lot. And there they are, you know, look, they're having a good old time. Am I palling around with Nazis here? Or are they implying if I'm only ever palling around with Nazis that these children certainly must be Nazis? And then this next photo is me when I interviewed a Syrian refugee who was in Turkey and seeking asylum, trying to get refugee status in Europe. And we went to his house and we interviewed him and we grabbed food together and we did all of the normal things that people do when they're journalists interviewing people. You know, we sat down, had something to drink and something to eat, and I talked about him and he explained things to me. And then I even hung out with his other brother who was an actual refugee in Romania. I guess, you know, ultimately what this comes down to, It's Going Down posts this. Clearly a lie. This group, It's Going Down, has no problem lying to people to push their political agenda, and that's why I view them as evil. I don't care if you think I'm a bad journalist. I don't care if you disagree with me. But taking these series of photos, it's one photo and they've cropped into a series of photos, calling me alt-right, absolutely not true. I have never been associated with alt-right in any way, and I'm a mixed race person, so this is some kind of strange racism on their part, I guess you can call it that, discrediting my personal identity and experience in exchange for their political agenda. But this is just lying. They're literally lying to people to push their politics. And this it's from June. It's got 258 retweets. I don't know what, it just seems evil. It just seems that they're willing to use manipulation and deception to push their political cause. And I personally find this to be absolutely detestable. It is the opposite of what I believe in. And I'm also not surprised because I had a lot of people during Occupy Wall Street flat out tell me that they produce propaganda, and that's what this is. This is propaganda. It's a lie, and it's meant to propagandize. But I had people flat out tell me that's their mission is, and they don't believe in objective journalism, and there you have it. So I guess what they're ultimately saying is that refugees are Nazis. Brazilian, what do we got here? I got some more. I've got a Brazilian gang leader here. He must be a Nazi. This Brazilian labor rights protester, he must also be a Nazi. And don't forget the little refugee children. They must all be Nazis too, if their logic is correct. But I guess they could step back and say, you know what? Maybe Tim isn't only palling around with Nazis. And they're not Nazis to begin with, but someone actually, the first guy was like, oh, he says, that's because that's what you spend a majority of your time covering, right? And I'm like, it's funny because I do, because this refugee documentary I did was almost 2 years ago now. And then this year, I spent the first half in Europe covering migrant issues and refugee issues. And now they want to act like I only ever hang out with the alt-right or conservatives, which is just totally not true. But you know what it is? These people don't actually watch my videos. They've never seen my videos. You get groups like It's Going Down posting this fake news, accusing me of being alt-right, and that's all they will ever see. Like when I went to Columbia to see Mike Cernovich speak, one guy knew who I was and called me alt-right. That's all it took. And then some chick started screaming that I was doxing people and have gotten people hurt. And she was saying that the administration, by supporting me, was perpetrating, racism. And I'm just like, lady, you don't even know who I am. And one guy, when he walked up to me, and he was trying to ask me why everyone was yelling at me, I laughed. And I was like, because one guy called me alt-right or something. They don't even know who I am. He looked me up. I said, just Google search my name. Just go ahead, do a Google search, Tim Pool, and you'll see whatever you want to see about me. I've never posted anything about like opinions on Islam or race, gender, and stuff. I'm mostly fairly neutral on all of these issues, and actually, for the most part, I'm actually in favor of a lot of social justice stuff to the point where I think we'll have a good debate at the Kilroy event coming up in April. But when this guy looks up my Wikipedia page and it just says like I'm a former Vice News journalist, work for Fusion, he got confused and was like, I don't understand. There's nothing political in here. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. These people, they're a collective, and instead of telling the truth and thinking critically, they just believe whatever they're told. And those that are running these cultish groups, and I will say it's a cult because they lie and manipulate to control their followers, this is what they do. It's Going Down. Calling me alt-right, saying that I'm dodging the camera. They're trying to paint this narrative. Man, that is scumbaggery. This is, man, it's fairly evil. I don't think it's the most evil thing in the world, but these people are total scum. It is what it is. Thanks for hanging out and checking out my second channel, Rant. This is what this channel's for the most part, and in the future, if anything happens to my first channel, this is where I'll be. So subscribe if you want less formal, more ranty-ish videos with less editing, and this is what you're going to get. So stay tuned, and I'll see you all whenever I post on this channel again.